Hello, Calvary. I'm Erin Gangloff, co-moderator here, and I'm excited to join you today for some exciting news and some updates to share with you. I'll be joined by fellow deacons Ann Comstock, Beth Dickinson, and Pastor Ann. You know, several years ago, we went through a discernment process. This was a process where we stopped and we took a pause, and we really evaluated where Calvary was going. What did the future look like? How can we be an agile church? And during that time, the first step was looking at our lay leadership structure. And that is where we came up with the Ministry Advisory Board, which is comprised of 14 deacons. Those deacons were then commissioned in 2024, and we are excited. They have been on such a journey and have been working hard for each and every one of you and for this church that we love. Because the main thing was, how do we take Calvary into the future? And how do we continue its legacy? And they range from everything from looking at financial wellness to this beautiful building in which we are in every week. And so I'm grateful to each and every one of them because this has been a journey for some of them that is brand new. And so I thank each and every one of them, but the journey did not stop there. The next phase of it was, how do we support the staff that so supports us? They're there when we have our biggest times of need. Or maybe it's the inspirational words from the pulpit. Or is it taking the hands of our children and taking them from baby dedication to baptism, to college and into the real world? Or it's the music that fills our soul. Or even the staff that we don't normally see on Sunday mornings that's actively working for each and every one of us day in and day out. So Calvary, it was time to take a look at this. So I'm excited for you to hear these updates and to see where we're going.
Hello, Calvary. Ann Comstock here, one of your co-moderators. It's a pleasure to be with you. You know, since our discernment process was completed in 2023, your leadership has really striven to be a model of commitment of an agile church, one that's nimble and adaptable and flexible as needs arise. This has really been true in ways that we adapted staff structure following Pastor Morgan's resignation in June of 24 and several subsequent staff changes. This year, with 2 open positions, we saw an opportunity to look at staff structure more holistically to determine what really is going to be the best structure for Calvary in this next season. So we decided to convene an ad hoc team that included me, Beth Dickinson, Kevin Jonell, Caitlin Sturgis, and Diane Newcomb. We worked right alongside Pastor Ann, and we are pleased to announce that we're ready to communicate the results. I want to tell you a little bit about the way we approached the work. We began by researching data on church trends and structures. We conducted a number of interviews with individuals who were familiar with Pastor Ann, familiar with Calvary, or with other church and nonprofit organizational structures. We then gathered information specifically from Pastor Ann herself and other Calvary staff. And the result of that was several different points emerged, several learnings, and we have used these as our guiding lights as we put together a structure and plan. Some of these you won't be surprised to hear. Others, I think, are going to be good learning for all of us. First one, Pastor Ann works an absolutely unsustainable schedule. Often 6 or 7 days a week, she is always on call. And the work itself is difficult, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We discovered that much of the work Pastor Ann does is executive or administrative work that is not the best focus and scope for her. It's obviously not the best use of her gifts and skills. We believe, as Pastor Ann does, that she should spend more time focusing on pastoring the congregation. We learned we need a sustainable staff structure that will allow all of our clergy to do what they were called and educated to do: the caring and teaching, preaching, advocating, serving, planning, leading worship, and being present within and outside of our Calvary community without being bogged down with daily executive or administrative tasks. We also learned that pastoral care is critically important to our congregation. It's time-consuming, it's unpredictable, and it's often difficult to manage and balance within other job responsibilities and duties. And finally, we realized that we really have to have an intentional focus on strategic communications to create messages and campaigns that share Calvary's story with external communities. Each of us benefits from being a part of this beloved community, and we need to share that with more people to let them know they can find a spiritual home here. So, grounded in thoughtful budget considerations, we've developed a structure and plan with faith, optimism, and a belief in Calvary's future.
Calvary, can you believe we are beginning our 18th year of ministry together? I love our church. I love being your senior pastor. You've entrusted me with so much. My job is meaningful and varied. I'm also learning my limits as I mature in leadership, and I have a growing clarity about what I need to thrive and be well in this season of my life and ministry. About this time last year, Damon and I asked the Executive Board of Deacons to come to our home to have a heart-to-heart about my role and responsibilities. We needed a listening ear, a safe place to be honest and transparent, because we knew, and I had been feeling for a while, that I was at a tipping point. So around our dining table, Damon and I shared with these leaders who know and love us well that we love Calvary and we want to be at Calvary. And that for me to continue serving as your senior pastor, something needed to change. Really, two things: how I work and how much work I have. How I work is on me, and I'm actively engaged in changing my habits and practices, and I take responsibility for that change. How much work I have on my plate is on all of us, because it's related to the role and job description of the senior pastor and its vast areas of responsibility. Vision and leadership, preaching, teaching, worship, pastoral care, stewardship, outreach, missions, advocacy, service, representing you in the community. Then there's this scope of executive leadership, of running a nonprofit, staff, HR, property, safety, finance, litigation. And just, being the signing authority for an institution requires knowledge about the stuff I'm signing. And I take it seriously because it's serious stuff. It is wonderful work. It's also weighty work, and it's too much. I can't keep doing it all. And I'm not burnt out. I'm not depressed. I haven't lost my call to ministry. I just can't keep up with this pace and intensity of work. Perhaps I could for a bit longer, but I choose not to, because I want to thrive in longevity of ministry.
Hello, Calvary. Beth Dickinson here, Deacon of Staff Relations for HR. We had clarified the opportunities we thought would make a difference. We looked at sources of funding from the 2025 budget, which included half of the prior office administrator role, pastor of visitation role. LaJuan Jones announced conclusion of her contract role as Calvary's accountant as of March 31, 2026, and the option to make reductions to our communications contract with Present Nomads. With the budget target in mind, we started looking at how we could re-envision our staff structure to address some of the needs we had identified. We knew early on that we wanted some kind of executive director role to take Pastor Ann out of the administrative loop as much as possible. Next, we identified the chaplain role and implemented it on an interim basis given the level of need right away. This in turn allowed us to re-envision Pastor Alice's role to add a more in-depth focus on external communications and new congregants. After that, there were still quite a few areas that we were considering doing lots of cutting and pasting and mixing and matching with job descriptions. We were continuing to mull over additional ways in which we could take additional responsibilities off of Pastor Ann's plate when Reverend Ian Cummins asked Pastor Ann if Calvary might have a part-time pastoral role available and whether we might be interested in partnering with him if so. And voila, the final pieces of our puzzle fell perfectly into place. Adding his part-time role really made the rest of the structure come together in a very positive and logical way. As Pastor Ann said, this is a spirit-led opportunity at the right time, right place to make a real difference at Calvary. We are now very excited to present our resulting new staff structure to you for 2026. We have 3 new part-time positions, including Executive Director of Church Operations, which will require recruitment for 2026. Congregational Chaplain Reverend Brenda J.R. Goodman will fill that role. And a pastor, Reverend Ian Cummings, filling that role to support Pastor Ann in worship, preaching, and various ministry roles as assigned. These part-time roles give us so much more flexibility in terms of having staff available for multiple simultaneous needs or events, as well as 3 new people's diverse skills, experiences, and creativity to help move us forward in the work and mission of Calvary. On the organizational chart, you will see that Chad Lawrence, Manager of Facilities and Operations, and the accounting function will report to the new Executive Director of Church Operations. Worship and mission-related staff will continue to report to Pastor Ann. Pastor Alice will focus more on strategic and external communications and new members in addition to her other primary duties.
When Damon and I shared with the executive board, we felt heard and supported immediately. They moved into action. And the fruits of their labor, these 3 part-time positions, all serve to remove portions of real, tangible work and responsibility from my plate and my day-to-day life. These 3 positions allow people who are gifted and skilled in these focused areas to support Calvary in more effective ways than I can, quite frankly, and they allow me to focus on my giftings and calling, and maybe have a few more days off. Do you see this smile? In my tenure, we've had a lot of staff changes and configurations, and staff needs differ season to season. This change and this season feels different to me on a very personal level, and I think it's because in the past, I've often tried to focus on making sure other staff roles have a manageable workload, but this structure is really focused on my needs and extending my tenure with you. It is vulnerable to say I can't keep doing what I'm doing, and yet I trust you, my church. I trust my calling from God, and me sharing my need with you feels authentic to my spiritual health and to what I believe at my core, which is that we're supposed to be dependent on God and one another. We are never in this alone. We always are in it together. And by telling you I need support, it gives us a chance to respond collectively to see if and how we can provide that support. Calvary, in addition to these changes impacting my role, they also have an effect on our entire staff team. And we have amazingly gifted staff. When I shared these changes with them, they were incredibly supportive for how this supports me as a senior pastor, and also excited for the ways that it will help them grow into new aspects of their position. It's change for all of us, and so we appreciate your patience as we learn and grow into this new way of being together. And I know that they would welcome your questions and your encouragement as well. We are all here, the staff, the lay leadership, to help the congregation as a whole understand this vision together. Damon and I are deeply grateful for how our lay leadership, the deacons, and the ad hoc team have responded to what we shared a year ago. We feel and we know that their labor, faithfulness, and discernment is an expression of their love and commitment to us. And they represent you. So it's an expression of your love and commitment to us too. Calvary, as you process this news and as questions arise, come talk to me. I am excited about these positions and how they enhance our team and support our vision. I'm clear about why we need them and the possibilities they open up for us to deepen our ministry impact. And we already know 2 of the people filling these roles, Ian and Brenda, and wow, I truly believe they have the right gifts for what we need and are here at the right time for when we need them. I also have a deep peace that comes from listening to my inner wisdom and your wisdom, Calvary. It is the Spirit's leading. And I trust that as I am a healthier leader, and as other people are given the opportunity to use their leadership gifts, we will all grow together in Christ and in community for years to come.